Hello there and welcome to another My Little Podcast. We are your hosts. I am here. I am Bree.
You are here.
I'm here with
Amazing.
I'm here with my father Gary.
Hello.
My mother Shelly.
Hi there.
And my brother Bryson.
Hello.
We're going to be talking today about our recent trip to the London Bridge that we featured in the latest My Little Podcast, or My Little Homestead, the Weekly Peak. Mm-hmm. And we're also going to be chit-chatting about our goating experience. Not a boating experience, mind you, but our goating experience.
Oh, yes.
And but before we get into that, a quick word from our sponsor, MyLittleHomestead.com merch store. If you'd like to take a piece of London and Oatman wherever you go, or maybe something cute, funny, or inspirational, MyLittleHomestead.com merch store has got you covered. Visit the website or click the link down in the description. Perfect, Dad. I like it.
Good one, Gare.
So we shared our final installment of our trip, which we have, which was really fun to do. It was fun to learn about. It was fun to walk through the, underneath that bridge and drive over the top of it and learn about all the history that was behind it. It was pretty fun to share that. And
really was.
Yeah.
Hey, Dad, if you bump the cord on that mic, it might cause a buzz inside the mic.
Quick.
Sorry.
Quick.
No
I just
buzzing.
dawned on me.
All right.
How's
Dad's
that?
Bryson's watching out for Dad over there.
Thank
You'd love to
you.
see it. You'd
Because
love to see
it
it.
might be hearing this buzz,
Yeah, and that's not Dad being electrocuted.
or pop. Or
That's
pops.
just a pop.
Who knows?
Yeah, pops.
No noise.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. All right
We're
then.
good now.
So, Mom, you did a lot of the research for the bridge. Do you want to take us through that a little bit? Or I know we shared most of it, obviously.
Yeah, I think
but
we shared most of it because we even had the rest of it on the outtakes. So I think everything's. But I got to remember in the outtake, I didn't make the main show. We talked about the rumors of him thinking he bought the wrong bridge.
Yeah.
Well, I have to read a comment. Here,
Yeah, okay. I think you probably got the one I was thinking of.
This is a TARDIS Mole. I love that name. He said the most amusing part. This is a comment off of the video, the Weekly Peak.
Yeah.
The most amusing part of the history of the London Bridge is what happened when the American gentleman saw it. He was actually looking at Tower Bridge, thought it was the London Bridge, so he bought it. He was a little upset when the bridge arrived and it didn't have the towers on it. He just made it look like he knew he had bought the London Bridge to save face later. The full and real account of it is in the London Museum. Still, he has a unique piece of British history on behalf of everyone on this side of the pond. I hope he's looking after it. Incidentally, London Bridge was rammed by the Vikings in the 19th century, or the 9th century, which is when the song was first sung. And that was in the outtakes as well. We talked about that a little bit. What's interesting is that if you say, thank you, TARDIS, for that comment. And we did, if you catch the outtakes on the Weekly Peak, you'll see that both sides, there's a dispute as to what really happened on that. But definitely, if you go into the visitor centers there at Lake Havasu, they'll be sure to let you know that he knew exactly the bridge that he bought. And I will say, when they brought it over, they actually stored it for a couple years before they built it up, and they had the engineer over to design it. So when they brought it over, he wouldn't have even known that the towers were there or not, because it was just not put together. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you'd have to have the plans of how it goes up. I mean, you'd really, and if you think about it, I mean, you're buying a bridge, you're going to need to know what it looked like beforehand so that even though everything's numbered, you've got to have something, so.
To reassemble it,
wouldn't
you
he,
would
though?
need some knowledge.
right, and there's pictures of him
redesign.
over in London.
Looking at it there too.
Looking at it
right,
there too.
right.
So I think that the rumor is a lot of fun for the guys over in England, and I think that it's for us over here in America. We have to defend our American. Surely he knew what he was buying. So it is a fun little story. Anyway,
Who knows what
whichever.
the truth is? and if of course, I think if you were to ask him, obviously he's not around anymore. But if he was here to ask, he'd be like, "Oh yeah, I knew what I was buying." I doubt he
I
would
don't
say.
know. Is he around? He might
Really?
still be around. This was in
Well, somebody
71.
call that guy up because we got to know. Somebody's got to put an end to this rumor now.
McCulloch?
McCulloch.
Don McCulloch, I think his name is. We should.
Don McCulloch, if you're listening, please comment below.
But he's going to say, of course he knew.
That's what I'm thinking. I'd be like, of course I knew what I was getting. That was a lot of money to put down.
Have that name, and they're going to comment.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Don.
Yeah.
So we shared some. Is there anything before I get into our main goat subject? Is there anything that we wanted to share off subject of the goats from the weekly peek before I get into that? I know we had the aquaponics with Garen, which is super cool watching that come together.
Amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
Really cool.
Very professional looking.
He's done
Oh my
a
gosh.
lot of research. You could just tell it's in the whole system. It looks like it's going to work really well. Very exciting.
He is using too the siphon
The bell
drains,
siphon
bell
system.
siphons, which is different than what we've used before. You experimented with that.
Yes, and like I have not personally. Like we had a small experiment that both actually me and Garen built when we were younger. We built it over the rain barrels that Mom had. These little systems that would set on there, and it was just a tub, and it had a bell siphon in it, and it would just sit there and drain. And those were reliable. We grew stuff in those. When we talked to the aquaponics guy, he said that bell siphons were not as reliable as the other systems, but I don't know. I never had problems with it, and Garen's going with it, and there's a lot of people on YouTube going with it. So I think it's gonna work just fine. I mean, if they're gonna fail, they're just gonna sit there flowing like a normal system. They're not gonna overflow or something weird. I don't think.
And it's kind of nice to have two different systems going, so you guys can experiment with both. 'Cause
Yeah, kind of
And,
see what's up.
I gotta say, I have a little tube in the center of mine, and if I put a filter on there, it gets clogged up eventually with stuff that just falls in the tank, So it's I don't know if a bell siphon. I think a bell siphon would be just as if not more reliable than just a flow system too. I think because you have to clear the filters out in a flow system, in a bell siphon you have to clear the bell siphon out. So I don't see any difference there.
Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have the
see.
side by side.
I love the way the bell siphon system works though, with the air, allowing the roots to have air in the system and coming back.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry.
Kimchi
beyond that
Tofu
subject.
asks, why do you need the fish? Can you take the fish out of the system?
Yes, you can. You can take the fish out. You don't even have to have them.
And that's aeroponics or something, or hydro?
Those would be called, hydroponics. And the aquaponics is with the fish. Hydroponics is without the fish. Which honestly, don't you want the fish in there? I mean, that's kind of the exciting part. But if you're uncomfortable with raising a live animal, then, unless you consider a plant a live animal, that's another thing.
It's living. That's for sure.
Technically, they produce heat, I recently learned.
Plants?
Justin, my boss. told
Plants?
me.
Plants do, or
Yeah, plants do. And once they're a significant size, they actually do produce a little bit of heat.
I like that.
Wow.
So-
You
get
can
the
hug them if
infrared
you're
out
cold.
and infrared out and
know,
test that
apparently.
out.
You take
I-
your plant with you. I was cold. I couldn't do the heater pad, so I took my plant with me to help.
Yes. And get plant companions that you carry with you everywhere you go. I'm sorry, sir, you can't have that plant in here.
Well, can you imagine?
Wait, I have my badge. It says I can because it's my companion.
Yeah, I'm licensed. I'm licensed to have it. It's a what do you say? You have your companions. They're what are they called? They're
companions.
well, no, but they're specific. They're for your mental health companion, but it's not mental health. It's
Yeah, that's when you take your
it's
sister
support.
or brother with
Maybe
you.
they're support animals or something. You have your support plant.
Yeah, support plants.
Sir, that is a ghost pepper plant. It is very dangerous. You should not have it in here. Very poisonous. What do you mean? I know it's my companion.
Here, have a bite.
Here, have a bite. Actually, I think the ghost pipe, I think is what it's called. It actually is used as a natural
Yes.
painkiller.
Yes.
Well, yeah, because it's so hot it numbs
Yeah.
everything.
I know, but apparently,
Oh, you
it's
can get
rare,
healed
though.
just
It's hard
by-
to find.
Oh,
Just by having it in the room, you get healed. It's not-
exactly.
Oh,
no.
really?
It radiates
No,
healing. You
I'm
just put it in the
kidding.
corner.
It radiates healing and heat.
And apparently, is a really, really powerful natural painkiller.
Who needs a heater? I got a plant.
I got a ghost plant. What? Where is it? I don't know. I can't find it. It's a ghost. It was around here somewhere. Where
You have
is
to
it?
use your imagination. Okay, so the Rusty Spigot asks, what do y'all have the goats for? And I thought that was a wonderful question to kind of segue into the discussion that we want to have about goats and the reason why we got them and kind of our motivation for having goats. Because there's a lot of animals out there like cows that produce milk, but we chose goats out of the lot. So Mom, did you want to move us into that? What kind of
Yeah, we started looking into goat's milk. Actually, we lived in the city, and Bryson, I don't think I've ever told this story online. Bryson, actually,
we have.
you were about,
Might have.
I'm going to say between 2 and 3, and he had fluid in his ears, and interesting enough that it was some people have, speech, where they can't
Impediments,
quite say certain sounds, like S's and R's are real common. But Bryson, he really, he couldn't say any sound right. He talked all the time, but there wasn't one sound that even, it was like all sounds. And you must have been between 3 and 4 because you were talking quite a bit. And and he never really had ear infections, but he just had this low level fluid all the time in his ears. And I was starting to get worried because I thought, he's not hearing right, or that's why he can't quite speak right. And so we took him to a specialist, and they said he's got to have tubes in his ears. And I was like, okay, well, we got to do it because he obviously needs to hear. I'm bothered that he's, and obviously you want to do what you think is right as parents. And but of course, my mom, who's always the saving hero on the scene.
Thank you, Grandma.
When I told her, she said, absolutely do not put tubes in his ears. She had it done as an adult because she had some ear draining problems and whatnot. And she said it was the most horrible experience, and it just would drive you crazy. And don't do it. And she said, take him off milk. I was like, take him off milk? I was like, okay. So I called the lady. She was a specialist at the, it was like a deaf clinic. And I said, hey, I want to just take him off milk for a while and just see if he has an allergy. Would you mind if I can bring him back and have him tested? Because he was scheduled to go in and get these tubes in like in a week and a half or 2. So I thought I'll just take him off milk until then. And then right before the surgery date, we'll take him back. And what they would do is they would blow a little piece of like a puff of air,
right? Yeah.
and then they could see if that drum moved, because you can't really reliably say, yes, 3-year-old Bryson, can you hear that? It's like,
Yes, Mama, I can.
it just, so it was a very objective test. And so we went ahead and did that, took you off milk, and then we went back to the clinic, and she blew air in there, and she said it moved. And I was like, oh my goodness, he's been allergic to milk all these years, and I didn't know. And so we, of course, canceled the surgery. And then my next thing was like, well, I got to have my little guy. He's got to have milk.
Yeah, so important for the growing.
And they have things like rice milk, but I'm like, those aren't milk though. So I started doing some research, and we found out that goat's milk was more digestible, and even people who are allergic to one can take on the other. And I thought, well, let's look into that. And little did I know at the time that Shay had issues with milk. And so we looked around, and we found a farmer in the city where we were able to get some goat's milk from. And sure enough, both Bryson and Shay and Garen also liked it. I don't think you really liked it, did you, Bree? Yeah, and Dad and I didn't either. It was very goaty. We learned later how to make goat's milk taste just very, very good. But
Key is to throw it in the freezer right away.
Cool it fast.
Cool it fast.
Yeah,
fast
and then
as you can cool it.
And then you don't get any of what we call goaty flavor.
It's gamey, or it's considered a lot of different things. We call it goaty here.
I think that in some cultures they really like that flavor, but for us, we weren't used to it. We were used to the old store cow milk, so we wanted to remove that flavor. And anyway, so later on, Dad and I, and you too, Bree, we were able to drink it later because we were doing our own and whatnot. But anyway, so that's what kind of started us. And I forgot the beginning question. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, no, that was what got us into being interested after we had purchased the goats milk from the farm. We were like, hey, we should get our own goats and start milking. And we at the time lived in the city, so we could only do little goats at the time. We needed something, but we still wanted to milk too. So I believe we got Nigerian goats, which they're little, but they do produce milk. I don't think we ever ended up milking them because we ended up moving shortly after that, and we did get a milking goat.
And do you remember why we got we ended up getting Nubians? And do you remember why?
I do remember. We were walking through the local fair, and the fairgrounds have all the animals and that, sections for the prizes and 4-H and everything. And there was these 2 little kids, Nubian kids, that were playing, and their ears were flopping everywhere. We just fell in love with those Nubians as we watched them play, and we thought, those are the goats we want. Those are the goats we want. So when we moved out, we started looking around for Nubians to milk. We wanted a milk goat. So And
Yeah.
that's when Biscuit entered the scene. We went and got Biscuit.
Seabiscuit.
right.
Seabiscuit.
That's right. Yeah, she was a good goat.
Best
She was
goat
the
we
best
ever
goat.
had,
She had long,
I think.
her teats were nice and long, so they were easy to milk. And she was so like patient with us and gentle. Very, very, very good goat. We really, really liked Biscuit. Seabiscuit.
Yeah, and before we started milking, we had bumped into the third farmer because we kind of went from one farmer to the next as we moved to get the goat's milk from, and she was the one who told us about cooling that milk fast, and that's where we learned that. So by the time we started milking, we knew how to cool it down quick, and we were all drinking it at that point and making ice cream regularly. And
Yeah, we make
Amazing
ice cream.
chocolate milk.
That's where most of our milk goes is to ice cream. We love ice cream, and even when we were doing goaty, when it was the milk was kind of goaty, couldn't we make goat's milk out of it, and we would all consume that, but we didn't really like it raw, or at least for me. I even now can't sit down and swig a glass of milk. I couldn't do that with any kind of milk. I just can't do it. I don't know why. Dad can over there, but not
yeah,
me. I
can
can't.
too.
I
love
just
the goat's milk.
Every now and then
I like the
I'll
goat's
do
milk.
it,
I don't
but
mind the
I
taste of
usually
it. I
don't
could drink it, but
anymore.
you just never see me sitting down with a glass of milk, regardless of what kind it is or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, and
But
one
I can do
interesting thing that happened
good
to
and
us
stuff.
too is you guys all went into the dentist one time, and this was after we'd been out in the country for a while, and you guys had been regularly on goat's milk, and we had gone into the dentist, and I remember there was one older dentist there, and then there were the young ones, and they all some of you guys. Garen went to the older dentist, and the rest of you went to the younger dentist because we just all made appointments, all were close together. And the younger dentist was wanting to put some sort of film on your teeth and stuff. And I thought, I don't know what that is, but don't do that. I'll go home and I was thinking I'll go home and research that. I don't even know what that was, but when I looked at it, I thought, no, I'm not doing that. But the older dentist who looked at Garen's teeth, he said Garen's teeth were so thick they would never have a cavity. I don't know if that's been true for Garen or not, but I was very taken back when he said that. I thought, wow, I'd never heard that before.
Never. And I mean, he's got good teeth too. They still
Yeah.
look very healthy and very white. He has very, very healthy teeth. It seems. I mean,
Yeah,
from
and-
our view, we're not dentists, but we look at it.
Right,
That looks like a good
both
set of teeth."
Shay and Garen seem to get really good teeth. It doesn't necessarily, because I'm not so sure that you and
We aren't
Bri-
quite the same.
Yeah,
but
you're okay, but you didn't get the really, everybody reacts
I've
to
Yeah,
got
it.
a couple,
we all
couple
different.
teeth that are pretty
yeah.
hollow.
But the milk, when we have the milk, though, our teeth get really
Yeah.
strong. We notice
Yeah.
because we don't milk through the wintertime because we're babies and we hate milking when it's cold. So,
Like today, as a matter of fact.
oh my
It's
gosh.
they're all bundled up. We've had a little bit of rain,
Yeah.
a little something like from.
It's still
the old
raining
days.
up there. Like, what the heck? We're in the desert. Go away. What are you doing?
No,
And then we
no.
whine when we don't have any. But oh boy, when it comes, it's like, rain, what the heck is this? But yeah, we all wanted to curl up in balls and not have to deal with
We
it.
want the rain. We don't like the rain.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Let's get it straight here. Let's get it straight.
Wait, there was one more story. We were at we were at an event last night.
Yeah. Shay had a little party for
Housewarming.
housewarming party now because she's all settled in, and so we all go ahead. You tell it, Gary. You're the one. You want me to tell it?
And I'm talking to this gentleman named Josh, and he, we're just kind of chatting around. And he's a violin player, and I thought, I better get his information and kind of see if he still plays, and maybe we could have him out to do a recording or something. And so I got his phone number and his last name, and ding, I kind of ring, and then you were saying, hey, are you related to blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden the kid was like the grandson or something, wasn't he?
He was like
nephew.
the nephew. He was the nephew of the people that we bought the goat's milk from.
years
'Cause-
ago.
Yeah, for some reason when he said his name, I was like, boy, because I
That
remember
sounds
that was the
familiar.
name of their farm when we would go in there. So anyway, that was pretty cool.
A small world. Small
Yeah.
world. Pretty crazy.
World.
So Debbie Boring says the babies are very cute. How much milk do you get from the goats? Daily. And I would say that it varies depending on how many goats we have
300
milking at the
gallons
time.
a day.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine?
We milk all day, every day. It takes up all our time.
I'd say on average, we will get maybe a half a gallon a day. I think
Yeah.
It tends to settle in at a half a gallon. We could be more aggressive and I think milk twice a day and go really crazy on it, but we're busy people, so we really can only do about once a day, and the baby's on them and stuff. So
we pull the babies off at night, and so we can get that one milking in the morning, and then all the babies go back on, and they're just on, so that keeps them from drying up. So the babies help us along, and then that's how
that's how we do it. Yeah, so just once a day in the morning, and it usually sells. We have for the first few years, it seems, when you have a new milker, the first year is usually a struggle because they have to figure out the whole milking process, and they might be a little finicky. Sometimes they have no issues. Most of the time, they need to get used to this concept of us milking them too. The goat needs to kind of figure that out, and they also need to figure out how to be moms themselves. Sometimes they're equipped. Maybe they know how to clean them off. They usually all can clean them off, but they may not want their goats to milk, their babies to milk. We've had issues that way. The first run of goats is always a little bit of a challenge to get them going. We have to work with them extra.
The first time they birth.
Yeah, first time. Second time, they're on board with it, but they don't ordinarily really start producing, at least for ours and our line, until about the third and fourth year. Now they'll usually settle into quite a bit of milk production each time. Like we have one that's done several years now, and she'll be a real good producer for us this year. She already is a great producer for us this year. She only had one baby and a female at that, so we'll really get a lot off of her if we stay on top of it, which we will. Yeah.
So like if you were a new goat owner and you want to get started with goat's milk, getting a seasoned goat may be a really good way to go.
That's the way we
because
went.
You don't have
and
to work through all of these little kinks and stuff.
Yeah, because you're just learning how to milk. You're just learning about how you want your process to be, and the filtering and everything else that goes with milking, and to keep everything sanitary, safe, and good. Like you're still learning all these things, and so having a goat that knows it's patient with you, it's been through the process, might be at least for us. It was nice to have that. Seabiscuit was very, very gentle and polite.
It's funny. Last year too, we had all males. I think we got one female out of the bunch, and this time we have all females except one male. We had two more born a couple days ago now. Or yesterday. I guess it was yesterday. We had two more.
Yeah, we had two.
And that
more.
was our first boy and girl. Mm-hmm. And that was a boar mix goat, and she had two babies, which is really unusual. The first time they birth, they usually only have one baby. So we had to kind of help her along too. She cleaned them up real good.
Yeah.
But every time they tried to milk off of her, she kept backing away. And they do that sometimes when they're new mamas and they're not sure.
Yeah.
So the three of us went out there and just helped get the babies latched on, and then
she immediately.
Yeah. Then they're like, "Oh, got it."
Yeah, she's a real smart one. Sometimes you get ones that are just like, "Well, I don't even know if this is good or not," and then the second year they're like, "Oh yeah, we've got it." So we really have to work with those newborn babies. But this time we had her on there, and she's like, "Oh, this is right." And she's the one that had the male, which is super good because males they're really aggressive about getting in there and eating. Mm-hmm. And they complain if they don't get it. Like, it's really nice to have a boy for a first round for a young, goat this first birth.
Too, like when we're out there working with her too, she seems like she's going to be a really nice goat to be milking and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She's a very
calm,
gentle-hearted goat, you can tell.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah. And smart, but not too smart where they're going to outsmart you. We've had goats that. Do you remember that one goat we had where we had it in 6-foot fencing? I don't know what it was. I don't remember what we named it. But it was in we had 6-foot fencing. You have corral fencing, so it's not tiny, it's enough to live in, but it's not, you couldn't do a running jump in the pen because she jumped everything. She jumped everything, and I remember we had it double fenced except this one square that was at the top of this fence, and we thought, there's no way she can make it through there. That's ridiculous. There's no running. She can't run and jump through there. She did.
She was amazing.
She was we called her the Houdini goat. She was amazing.
We had, and normally we don't even like to lock the goats down, but we had her locked down because she kept jumping and leaving the property, and so we had to have her locked down, and we did learn something through all that, though.
Yeah, we did.
And what was that?
We learned that we should never take a goat and and to put it in a pen over the fence. Never put a fence, because it teaches the goat that it can go over the fence to get in and out. So even if it's a pain, you open the gate and send the goat through the gate, even if it's short enough where you could just drop them up and over.
At least with like the babies,
they'll figure it out.
Because like when you start locking down the babies to get them away from their mamas for that little bit of time, when you go to milk them and stuff, but when you start locking down the babies, it's real easy to just take the goat, throw it over the fence, or not throw it over,
set it over the fence. They're small.
Because it's just, they're small, you can reach over the fence, you just do it. But it trains them how to jump.
They're smart little
they're
buggers.
Smart.
It's amazing.
Goats are very clever. They can learn how to open up gates and jump over. They're just smart little suckers.
So far, they don't spit any cut at you yet. I haven't had that happen.
Spit cut at us. That's a llama.
Well, I know, but goats chew their cud too, and so far they haven't figured out that can be a projectile aimed at a person. So
Okay.
Wow, that would be amazing. Can
Now,
you imagine
Bree wants a
spitting
llama,
goat?
so, we...
I do want a llama.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a great
I
guard
think
dog.
a llama would be fun.
Can you milk a llama?
I don't want to milk a llama. I only want to milk the goats because this is the next thing that I'm going to get into. This wonderful segue.
How do you build the stanchion for the llama?
We were...
That would be hilarious.
We wouldn't need it because they'd be tall, right?
Well, their head's got to go somewhere. It goes up in the roof. So, how do you feed the grain? Just start
drafts?
pouring it in on top of them
What are we doing? Drafts? Jeez.
How do you milk a giraffe?
Okay. Well, we decided we really liked the goat's milk. We liked doing the goats. So we wanted to expand into cows. So we got a dairy cow, and oh my goodness, it took forever to milk out a cow. Like I can get a goat milk even if it has a lot in under 7 minutes. All right, and that's if I'm like chilling out and going slow. And honestly, when it comes to a goat, that's just about the window you have. They don't do the long milking times, so you have to get in there and get
They'll
out.
be done eventually.
Yeah, they'll be done, and you won't like it, and they won't like it, so you just get in there and get it done
Yeah, because
fast.
we've had people that are friends of ours that were new to goats and stuff, and they're like, oh, the babies aren't drinking because it happens so fast, and they'll think, oh, they're on there, they get on there, but they're not getting enough milk. But believe me, it's super fast. They get on there, they get what they need, and the mamas will be real patient with them for the first day or two, but then they start getting, okay, you need to get this done quick. So
Yeah, and they do. I mean, we just recently got a little baby goat that we have to bottle, and it can demolish a bottle in, just a few minutes. It's gone,
We'll be talking about him,
Yeah,
I think,
we'll be
next
talking.
this week.
Speaking
this
of
week.
which, if you ever want a goat really, really friendly for it to you, bottle feed when they're babies.
Yeah.
It's a pain.
If you can
You will
put up with
regret
it.
your decision of making that goat friendly. No.
And they will also bite your fingers, so also be aware of that. But
And chew your clothing and bite your hair.
lots of
And
biting.
If you have any color on your shirt or anything that sticks out that looks like it could be nibbly or tasting good, they're going to eat it.
Yeah, they get very...
You know
But
that,
anyway.
that the animations, how goats eat cans? Well,
They probably were bottle fed, let's be honest. No.
they eat cardboard. That is true. You have an egg carton made of cardboard? Be careful. Remember that? Biscuit,
Yeah,
you
they'll take a
remember
big
that,
bite out of
Mom?
it.
Remember that?
Yeah, they're so funny,
They do
those guys.
like cardboard.
Anyway,
That was
so we were
amazing.
milking this, and when it come to the cow, it took me a half an hour to milk. And I think that's probably good speed. I mean, I'm assuming I can, I don't know. I don't know what the average is. And she only had goats only have two udders, and then a cow has four, the 4 packs of it, and only half of her sack was producing, but it still took me a half an hour to do it. And I was like, oh, Mom, I do not like doing the cow. I don't like it. It takes me too long. I'm sure the milk was fine and everything, but
no, we did not like
didn't like
the
it
milk.
either?
I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
it was okay, but by that time we were so attached to the goat's milk, we didn't really care for it.
Yeah, we got so hooked on it. We loved the taste.
I mean, we didn't care for the cow
And
milk.
I'm sure it'd be a little easier milking a cow if you had a machine. You can make those machines that do pretty good. I think that would be a little easier if you were milking a cow out.
Yeah, I've watched
that.
them do that, and we have used those on our goats before, like ones that we've jerry rigged together. And those are nice. They're easy. That the milk's clean, and you don't have to filter it because it's I think we still filtered it because it just seemed like totally. But I don't think you need to if you do
Do you
that.
guys remember that time that we had a calf over here for some reason, and we had to bottle feed it? So we got the Biscuit. We got her up on the stanchion, and we snuck the calf on, and he was just drinking away from Biscuit. She was fine until she turned around and saw him, and then she's like, "Hey!"
She
I
starts
think
stomping.
I remember that. It was
I
like
think I
such a
remember that,
huge
too.
animal on the goat. That's just still a baby, but it was so small, and the goat's like, yeah, whatever. That's right. I remember that.
We were
We're like,
trying
oh,
to
this
cut
makes
corners.
the feeding easy. He's like, no. What do I look like? A cow? No, I'm salting. That's right. That's right. So, Shannon Templeton asks, what do the goats eat, and do they have a pasture? And they pasture out on the acreage that we have out there, but
When there's grasses.
when there's
yeah.
grasses to eat.
Yeah, we don't ever really have to even feed them when there's grasses. The land pretty much does it for them.
There's several months that they can live off the land, and they'll be
Whenever
able
these
to
really
this
green
year more so because we normally don't have anything green coming into April or May, but we've had a lot of rains periodically through the winter this year, so we've got a lot of green out there, and yeah. It's looking
Yeah,
up.
there's gonna be plenty out there. I know the pigs enjoying life, and in our end of the fence, the goats don't
We're
come
already
into the
seeing green
courtyard.
and it's what,
He's having
March,
fun.
and- Jeez.
It was raining today though, so he was all curled up in a ball like all of us wanted to be. Little lucky little thing. But anyway,
That's right. It's pretty rainy outside.
we feed them. We've gone through several different types of food over the years, trying to find, this nice balance between something that's going to be, as inexpensive as possible, but giving the goats as much nutrition. And goats, they tend to thrive on more dead stuff. They don't like the super green stuff. Their bodies don't do very well on it. So we're trying to find, the best food that they're also going to do well on. And we've had several stuff that we've tried throughout the years, and we've kind of settled in on pellets that you can get from feed stores. They're like it's a mix between Bermuda and alfalfa pellets, and they thrive on them. They also adds little waste. There's no waste at all. And when you get
That's really
that's what
nice.
we really like, because when you get a bale of hay, there's a lot of waste. The goats only eat so much of, they only eat the little bits of stuff
they're
on it. They don't
picky.
eat all of it.
It's like
And it's always
alfalfa
like,
and
oh my
Bermuda.
gosh, it's so sad to see half the bale go to waste. And it just seems like more bang for our buck. They like it, they enjoy it, and their bodies do well on it. So
And
that's kind of what we've settled in
And
on.
what's cool too is they get really satisfied on just a little bit too. You don't have to,
Yeah.
once you get hay, you got to feed it a whole bell, and like with them, you really don't have to. It's not
Yeah.
much for them. It doesn't
yeah,
take
you know,
much. and
when
they-
we had the cow and the goats, then you don't. They eat different things off of the bale of hay, so then it works really well to have them together. Then they clean up pretty good. But
That's right. If you have a bale of hay like alfalfa and you check it out there, they'll eat all the little flakes and leave behind all the strands.
yeah,
and like
and the cows eat the
a good
strands.
80%
And the
of
cows
the
eat the
bale
strands,
gets
yeah.
left.
So
If you
they're
don't have
a little
somebody like
picky.
a cow to come and clean it up.
They're a little picky.
There's a comment here from, whoa, let me see if I can say this name. Timidin G Journey. Anyway, it's an awesome name, but it's very long. You're right.
Date in
The end time in date in G Journey. I'm sure I thrashed that, but he says, do you all eat the goats, or are they just for milk and companionship? And I would say for keeping the grass short, but I guess y'all don't have to worry about grass a lot, which we talked about. We do have some this year. When it rains, things pop up all over in the desert.
Yeah,
we just
it's
get a little
amazing.
rain, and it's amazing.
It's
so
like
and
plants
this
weight.
happens to be-
spring loaded. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and do we eat the goats? We have eaten goat in the past. We really don't anymore. We don't. I mean, it's not that it was bad meat or anything like that. We just wanted to try it. I think we.
Just to see.
Yeah, so we have done that in the past, but that's not why we raise them. We raise them mainly for milk, and then of course we sell all the excess goats to out there. So that's
The folks.
usually-
So a lot of times too, we'll have a friend or like Shay. Shay wants
Yeah.
to get goats, so we'll be giving away probably most of the ones that we have this
we
year.
give away from
You give it to friends and sell to.
I learned early on that it's really important to sell your goats. From the gal that we bought the milk from, one of the gals later on that we bought milk from, she says you need to ask for money for your animals so that people have a value on them. If you just give
They
them
treat
away,
them better.
She said that. So we've kind of, with the exception of friends and family, we ask a little something for them.
It's just
the
like
animals
anything.
tend to get treated better if that someone paid for them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's more worth to them, in the eyes. It's just kind of normal. Yeah. So. That is it. This is all. Is this? I know we talked about wanting to mention that Shay's now looking to get some goats there too. So
she's probably the biggest milk drinker. She loves goat's milk, and so she's wanting to. And I was gonna talk to you too about this, Bree. We do have like 5. I think we have 5 baby girls, and I was thinking, why don't we just keep them, and then get them milking, and then sell them or give them away as milking goats, kind of help people get started. I was thinking,
I think that would be. I think that would be nicer. I like that. They're already ready to rock and roll for a family. I like the sound of that. I know for us, we would have really loved to have that as well. So it'd be nice to be able to provide that. And I don't think any of us mind having them birth once and working with them a little bit, especially if you're just going to work with them for a little bit and then they go. So you get them going and. That sounds good. I like that idea. I like that.
We'll
I'd
have
be
to
down
see
for
if
that.
they drive us nuts.
Yeah,
and we'll sell them.
Sometimes things drive you. If there's so many of them, like, oh my gosh, it's just like, oh, there's too many.
Yeah, you can't enjoy.
There's only 4 of us home. It's too many.
You don't get as much enjoyment out of them sometimes when there's too many.
We want to enjoy them.
By the way, the goat meat that we had, the goat that provided that was the goat we couldn't contain. In any cage, it jumped out of everything. It was the escape goat. We could not get to in. How you can't sell a goat like that either, because it's like, here, take the problem goat. You know what I mean? Like, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
So we decided, wait, let's try goat. You're a perfect candidate. No,
and then we made sure not to put them over because we didn't want to do that again. Yeah. So
I just want to let you know we're not, eating goats that are really nice and friendly. It's a goat. That was an escape art. It was Houdini of all goats. It was bad.
I think that's what we used to say too, that if we get a bad goat with a bad personality, that's the one we're going to render.
Yeah. And goats, they can get very mean. And we've had goats that have been on the verge. They've just been on the verge.
We had a goat that would butt all the little kids. Remember?
Yeah. You can't
little kids
have
come
that.
over, and that goat would just hammer on them.
Come on their feet.
Yeah, we can't have that.
We
never have that.
It was bad, yeah.
Yeah, and then you can't give those away.
No.
They're not.
No, and you think, how could you ever eat a goat? You can eat a goat that butts kids.
Yeah.
You can.
Yep.
Believe
no
me,
problem.
You'll get irritated.
You're done.
You threaten my child, you're
no
done.
more.
We will render you, and we will put you in the freezer.
You'll be good for something.
You will go into the protein that will feed me.
Yeah, so they're one of those animals I don't think you have an issue with sometimes. EMB asks, are you going to see the Grand Canyon? And I thought that would be kind of fun. Another, just bring it up, as to having our roster to go visit the Grand Canyon. That'd be kind of fun.
I like that.
To do that at some point.
We did go to the Grand Canyon a few years back.
Grand Canyon?
Yes, and it was interesting because you guys were always young, and I thought, I'm just so petrified of heights. I just couldn't imagine having the 4 of you up there running around. I just the thought of it would make me panic. So, but we did finally go when you guys were older.
Yeah, we weren't going to run all over the place. I mean, we probably did, but we were grown up, so
I do remember it, and it always looks like a painting. It doesn't even look real.
No, it doesn't look real.
And what's funny about that is it would be so funny if it was a painting. And all of a sudden it ripped or something. And all of a sudden there's this big old city that's behind it or something really crazy.
Pollution.
I'm seeing this big old terrorist. I thought that'd be a good movie line. Someone steals the Grand Canyon or something.
Bryson.
And then it's just a painting and it rips. And everyone's like,
I love that.
I thought that would be really funny.
Hey, I've got a little story about this fear that Shelley had. We were in St. Louis driving through. And if anybody's traveled to St. Louis,
mom's up there like, I can't breathe thinking about it.
In St. Louis and has an opportunity to go up into the Peace Arch. Isn't it the Peace Arch?
I don't
the
know.
arch in St. Louis.
It's an arch of some sort, yeah.
Yeah, huge arch. And you can actually go in to one end and you take this really rickety kind of elevator. Yeah, because it's moving up and sideways at the same time, so it's correcting as it's going. I don't know if anyone's been on that.
Oh, poor mom over there.
Anyway,
Sorry.
First of all, just getting into this small enclosure was tough for her, but then going up and this clink, 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 clink. There's no windows. until you
No
get up.
turning back.
No turning back. Can't stop it.
What
You
have
get
we
up.
done?
Okay. Finally, when you get up into the top of it, there's a little viewing area. There's very thin. It could be 8 or 10 feet across. And they have little portholes up there. You can actually look out on either side. And in the portholes are just below them, about I'd say a foot below them, is a kind of a bench area that you can lay on and look out the portholes. And Bree and I are just like, we're looking down there at all the little people and stuff. It's
Okay,
really
that's
cool.
not what I remember.
Yeah, that's it. Both Bree and I were
We'll have
having a
both sides
blast.
of the
I
story.
don't remember portholes. I just thought it was all window.
No,
and Bree
no
was
portholes.
laying flat, looking out, and I had to get to the other side to go down.
Yeah.
And I could barely walk across.
She could.
And I'm like,
She's in
pulling
the
on your
middle of the
leg.
arch, can't move, don't want to go to either side.
They were portholes, though, huh? Okay.
I think they were portals.
Okay. I thought it was
Oh,
just
so
solid
don't look
window.
at me. I don't remember any
You
of
were
this.
small.
It was so
I was
tiny.
there,
Yes.
but I don't remember.
I
But we were
saw
looking
a little
out.
bit,
Come
you-
on, guys, come look.
Remember, I was not there. Apparently.
No, you weren't.
You weren't.
born
It sounds
yet.
like a place I
Point.
want to go though. That sounds fun.
Yeah, it was
Maybe
fun.
not Mom.
I think
but
I'll stick
love
to
the
the
heights.
ground
Fun.
with Mom. I was young and
Yeah.
oblivious then, but that sounds terrifying.
No, it wasn't terrifying. And then going back down the other side, and I could kind of remember Shelley saying something like, "I'm never going to do that again."
I tried it. I don't like it.
I'm doing that
Sometimes
again.
I don't even think. I just go, oh yeah, just joining in the fun, going, and then you start on this thing, and you're like, what have I done? I'm my baby girl.
Well, apparently I was having fun, so no need.
You
Mom.
did. You were loving it. You really were.
Well, I'll take your word for it being high and scary because I'm not too keen on this thing now.
Arch.
I love high and scary for some reason.
The
Yeah.
arch there was
You're
showing
amazing,
the
that's
like
why.
movies and stuff.
Yeah.
The big old
Yeah.
golden arch thing.
Silver.
Yeah.
Silver. Yeah.
Silver.
Yeah, when I was
golden
framing
thing.
houses back in the old days,
Whoops.
when I was framing houses back in the old days, I'd be the guy up walking walls, 3.5 inches of
You know,
room up 10 feet in the air.
when you like fly drones and stuff, you just kind of
Yeah, but you're not in
height
the air.
is kind
That's
of just.
different.
But you see it.
I will
But
say
it's not
this:
like-
I've been
it's
so
not the
terrified, and I
realisticness,
try
though.
to conquer my fear of heights because I'm like, that's silly. I don't like things controlling me. But I remember we were in a video game of some kind. I can't remember which one. I think it was Fortnite, and you drop down with your glider. And I was so afraid of the heights when I was first playing that game. I'm
Even
like,
in the
this
game?
is stupid. Yeah, I'm like, this is stupid. It's heights. It's in the game. It can't hurt me. What the heck? But yeah, I even had to conquer that because I'm like,
That's a
when I
good
saw
way
the
to
height.
conquer it.
Yeah, that's maybe. I don't know if it transcends into real life, but
Or,
I had to conquer
fly
that
some
in a
drones.
video
real.
game.
Otherwise, you wouldn't feel
That's
that way.
true.
Go
That's true.
Fly some drones with PvP goggles on.
Okay, well, I will say this,
First
Bree.
person.
PGE. You mean?
Goggles.
Go ahead.
I will say this, Bree.
not PvP, I'm
Remember
sorry.
when we were in California and Perry had the palm tree business, and he had it, and you went way up in his crane.
Yeah, and I was freaking out, but I was like,
You
I
did
gotta
it. You were
conquer
the only
it.
one who did, I think.
Gotta conquer it.
Did
That's
I
what I was
go?
thinking.
Oh yeah, you would have gone. Gary.
You did
Yeah, I
go.
know.
I remember you were like, you're adjusting your glasses and like, look at how this is not scary for me. I mean,
was
you
it?
probably weren't doing that, but I'm like, oh, come on, show off. Get me on there.
I should have done that. I didn't.
I love games
I don't think I
and
did.
things that are like that.
I actually kind of remember that, but I don't think I did.
I don't think you
I
did
wanted
either,
to
but
do
I,
it.
I
You know,
think you
I
would
still
want
want
to
to go.
conquer.
I want to go paragliding
Parasailing?
or parasailing or
Yes.
jump out of a perfectly good airplane with a
I
parachute.
couldn't do that. I think
I
that's
would love to
actually-
do that.
Why
I
would you?
don't know
why
about
would you jump
base
out of a
jumping, though.
plane
I don't do
just to
that.
do it? Like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, maybe the plane's burning. You have no other options. Okay, but why do it on purpose? Stay in the plane. There's
No,
nothing
no.
wrong with the plane.
No,
Didn't Karen and
there's
Ellie
no-
do
They
that?
did
Yeah,
it. They're
they
like,
did.
Bree, you want to come? I'm like, what do I look like? No, I'm not going to jump out of a perfectly good airplane. Why would I do that?
Yeah. Karen and Ellie did do it. I'm sad they didn't
I don't know
invite
if
me.
they'll do it again though. I don't know
Oh,
that
no.
they were very.
I don't think Ellie got really bad motion sickness.
Did she?
Oh, motion
Yeah.
sickness.
That's
Oh,
what
she
got
needed
her,
a
I
little
think.
ginger before she went.
There you
Yeah,
go.
you don't think that
Ginger would
you
work.
wouldn't think, but
No, you
that,
wouldn't.
but apparently, yeah.
I don't know,
Well,
I
They
think
should
we'll
have
do
invited you,
something
Dad. If
fun
they'd
to
have
do
known you wanted to go, I
eventually.
bet you they
Oh,
would.
gosh,
'cause
yeah.
But you know,
No,
Be
you
fun to
know,
do that
I remember there
eventually.
was I was with Jocelyn, and we were at a park, and I had one of these rides where they put you in this kind of saddle. You don't sit, you lay, and there's like 4 of you across, and they pull you up, 100 feet in the air on an angle, and then you swoop down on an arc towards the ground. And just before you get to the ground, the arc, of course, peaks, and you go up the other side.
Oh, my.
Oh, that was so fun. Oh, gosh. Jocelyn and I were just loving it. We had her music teacher with us, too, at the time, I think, and he was panicked. He was, like, coming unglued. Jocelyn and I are like, having a great time. And he's over there like, well, I'm going to die. No. So it was a great trip, that one there. I love things like that. With some space in the sky and getting up high and looking over edges and stuff. That doesn't bother me too badly. So,
I remember I was with a friend and we were walking the fairgrounds, and they have those rides, all kinds of rides on the fairgrounds, and she wanted to go on this ride called the Zipper.
Oof.
And you just kind of get flung around in the air. You go up, and it's like a saw with people inside of it.
A saw.
Like a chainsaw with people inside. That's what it reminded me of. And I just had to close my eyes the whole time. But it was kind of fun though, because you felt like the feeling of it's kind of fun. But I did not want to watch that.
There
what
are
the heck?
some rides that make me sick, and then
I don't know. I don't get
what's that?
sick usually,
Tilt-a-wheel's another one. You get on that one, all you do is
I don't
just
like
go in
those.
circles. It's like, wait till I throw up on somebody. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Where's the fun?
Where's the fun in throwing up?
There is one that I would love to try, and it's where they do zero gravity in planes.
Oh yeah,
They go up and they drop the plane, and then you fall with it, of course, and then it's zero gravity, and you get to experience zero gravity in this plane. And
That'd be cool.
And then they, of course, bring it back, and then I think they do it a couple times, something like that. But it'd be
that
really
means
fun to experience
we probably need
that.
to go into outer space then. Isn't that the next thing? Is they have a guy doing outer space stuff?
You could do that, or you could just, experience the zero gravity in the plane, and a lot safer than going
No, let's
a
take it
million
up
miles
to
in the air to
90,000,
experience
100,000 feet. And
without oxygen.
who needs
and
oxygen?
air.
It's useless. It's
Who needs that? That's for
That's
babies.
stupid.
That's
It
for
would be
weaklings.
fun to experience the speed, though. Although you
Speed
won't
is
see it
good.
much. But, going 100,000 miles an hour would be kind of fun.
Well, you remember the guy that Bomber? What was his name? Wyken Bomber, Okra, something or other. Anyway, he
Yes, I know exactly. Who
no,
you
he
mean.
did
I know
the
exactly
he did
what you
the
mean.
jumping out of
Dug a hole and buried
60,
himself.
62,000 feet or something like that, and he jumps out of an air that balloon,
I
and
remember.
falls to the ground.
Did
and
he pass
Sponsored
out?
by Red
he
Bull.
did pass out.
That's all I remember. I'm like,
And he
Red
woke
Bull
up.
has everything.
back.
And then he
in the
woke
right
up
amount of
and
time.
he was able to get control, but he successfully came all the way down to the ground and
That was
parachuted.
crazy.
And he was kind of spinning out, and everybody's like, but he brought it under control. He got it under control. He was.
And that height.
And he's
I
like,
was-
it's not just something stupid I'm going to do. I've done this several times. I'm very trained for this. I'm ready to go.
But I do remember hearing him write about that. He probably wouldn't want to do it again.
No,
so,
yeah,
done that, been there.
you could see the curvature of the air.
Yeah.
when
That
you were
was-
up
Now
there.
they strap 2 jets on him, and he just jetpacks, and he flies around with jetpacks now. So
Is that what he does now?
yeah.
Oh, what did I
Funny.
just see? It was so cool. Somebody took, those little yellow drones that they do for, filming, and they made a human-sized version of it. And it's a drone, but with a person driving on it. It looked scary. I would never want to do it, but it was cool looking. Like, it was cool. The flying, I'm like, whoa.
Well, what about the opposite too? Like Bryson and I were watching a documentary on the building of the bridge that was
The
it
San
the-
Francisco Bridge, right?
Yeah, and
Oh,
they were
yes.
and they wanted to put the footings in very deep, and they had a way to push the water out, and then they would dig deeper and deeper and deeper.
Guys with shovels, like you would be in this air pocket underwater,
Yeah.
digging down to get down to the bedrock. The San Francisco Bridge, the
Golden Gate
Golden Gate Bridge, those
pylons.
the base of that bridge is
Yeah.
all the way down to the bedrock,
Yeah.
and they actually dug it like down bit by bit. It was
Yeah, and some guys were getting sick because they didn't
got the
know at the
bends.
time about the
the pressure.
the pressure
Forget
and
that
that
is,
kind
the
and they
pressure
were
sickness.
and actually did kill a couple. Too matter of fact,
Altitude sickness,
it ended up
something.
wouldn't be altitude sickness. What would that be? It would be or would it be altitude underground as well?
I
or
think
they call
altitude
that,
high.
can cause
yeah,
that,
altitude.
though.
So what would be whatever it was? It
No,
was
what would
the
you call that?
pressure.
They called
Altitude?
it the bends. I don't know the,
bends, but
specific.
It was known. It's where your pressure around you changes and it causes you to be sick in some way. I don't
But
know
I mean,
what-
this caused them to
though.
not. The guy couldn't even walk anymore. One of the
Oh, yeah, he got
designers,
And it
like,
killed-
he got
it
like
killed some
paralyzed.
people.
It killed some, and he got paralyzed from it. So
Wow.
And then the original guy who had the concept of it, he was so confident this would work. His foot got crushed and he died to
Tetanus.
tetanus. He died
Yeah.
of
That's right,
tetanus.
the guy who
Over a
built
crushed
the
foot. Can you
bridge.
believe it? That took him
Gosh,
down.
He actually
reminds me never to
designed-
build
I mean,
a bridge. You could
He
die.
designed the entire bridge.
His
No
wife
more
took it
bridges.
over, and then the son took it over or something. It was like
Well,
a whole sub-generations
Let's
of these
take,
guys.
take out an entire family, but I got the bridge up.
Yeah, that was their lifelong thing. That was
Well,
what
it
they
is an
committed to.
amazing feat too. I
It is
mean,
an amazing feat.
I mean-
the engineering's amazing. It's just
They probably have better ways of doing it now.
that would be a
though, I'm
place
sure.
to
Oh, yeah,
go
I'm
and
sure.
tour at one point in time is to
Yeah.
drive across that.
you talk
thing.
about thinking big. I mean, these
You know,
guys are
I did
thinking so
see
big.
where they do now is a barge that has this huge long structure on it. They tip the barge and then they tip it and they actually drop it all the way down, pump the water out, and then they can go down and do their work.
That would keep it from getting
Interesting.
too
I know that
pressury.
nowadays we wouldn't have to send humans down there. If we have a machine that works underwater and digs it.
Oh, yeah, that's
I mean,
coming
like,
too.
I don't know if those exist, but I'm sure that that's
Well, I know when they did like
potential
subways,
happening.
they dug them out to originally, but now they have. You remember,
Yeah,
the
they dug a
little
ditch.
machine, like I've seen them before. The machines at the end of The
Incredibles.
Incredibles,
Yes,
and
yes,
yeah,
like
and you get that.
turns,
So
huge-
it reminds me of that. It's kind of got that, and that's how they can go down and dig tunnels now.
for like
Yeah,
the
pretty
underground
crazy.
trains and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what it took like 12 men to manage that.
Eventually,
on one
they
of their
came up
first
with
systems?
a. Well, it was at the
That
second or
is
third, I
insane.
think. I think it was
It's
the
like,
second system.
Think
Only
about
took
the
12 men.
hiring. You just hire 10 people and they dug a
It would be
4
amazing.
mile long, tunnel.
Be cool
that's
is that if
crazy.
you could just set it in your office and operate it
Yeah.
remotely, like
Click the button.
like
That
a
would be
drone.
nice.
Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The
Then there'd be
untold
tunnels
possibility.
everywhere.
Oh, and then you could run it off a nuclear because it's underground.
That's true. Nuclear explosion, you make a bigger hole.
Bryson's always trying to get nuclear stuff
Wow.
and things. Have
if
you noticed
think
that?
about it,
Yeah,
if you
what
think
is-
about it, no nuclear poisoning if something goes wrong. So if you run it under nuclear, you could just dig a bunch of holes, and as long as it's underground, it doesn't
But doesn't
matter.
it get in
Well,
the
it gets
soil?
into the soil and water, and
But what do they do with nuclear? They bury it, so it obviously neutralizes it.
oh,
in
that's
some
not
way.
good either.
Does it
Hanford's not
obviously?
a
There's
good
a lot
place
of
to
I'm
do
Yeah.
it.
sure
things
that
that
that's
we,
not
that
good
doesn't obviously
either.
take care of it. We just dump it there because it's
You're
easy.
right. Fusion is better. Why are we working with
Yeah.
nuclear? Fusion-powered exploding tunnel diggers.
Okay.
Laser beam melting stone.
No, I like laser beam stuff. That'd be cool.
I just got a brilliant idea.
Oh no, not
What
another
if
one.
you create a tunnel digger, and what it does is it melts all of the rock around it
Uh-huh.
to create a firm shell. So as it goes and it digs the tunnel, it melts the rock around it,
I like
and it-
that.
firms the dirt,
I love it.
building it like a
I don't know how it would work.
Lava
It'd be
rock
pretty hot, but
stir thing around.
I like it. I do like that. I could see how that could work.
Well,
Smooth
you
it
just
off.
use a laser light that shines against the rock, and it's just so hot it melts it.
Except when it gets stuck. What do? It sticks to that. It shuts off. It sticks to that. And it's there forever because the
go
stone's
anywhere.
melted into the machine. Whoops. That's like a
you know,
bajillion dollars that we
I-
just lost in the
Here's
dirt.
something I don't understand. They dig these wells. If you ever seen wells dug, they have this big machine. They've got one big pipe that just keeps going down. They just keep adding on the pipe. Why have they not designed something that's as big as a 5-gallon bucket? They set it where your well wants to be. Push the button and it digs the hole.
Yeah, like those
I mean, like,
those animations where it's
5-gallon bucket.
teeth
You know
in the
what I
front.
mean? Yeah, like why
Pac-Man.
haven't they built something like that?
Pac-Man.
Yeah, Pac-Man.
I mean, if they've got these hole diggers that like they're talking about, why can't you create something like that that just digs a hole? And then it'd be so cheap.
Where does the dirt go though?
Well, you're right. You might have to have a pipe attached to it, like a hose, like a vacuum hose. But that's the only thing, and then it launches up the dirt, and then it just keeps
I
digging.
mean, I like it. I'm down.
It could be
I'm down for
really
the
cool. Cheap and
for the
cool.
5-gallon
Can
bucket
you-
with teeth.
Would you design that for us? Put it in the backyard.
Yeah, we could use
could
a
use
few of
another
those.
well.
I've actually thought of a really cool drill bit for drilling into rock, and I've never seen anyone do it yet.
Oh, dun dun dun! Bryson, known for his rock drilling. That's the mark he puts on the
So
earth.
who knows? There might be a machine that exists like that in the
Dun,
future.
dun, dun.
Oh,
Okay, Mom.
So
I
now
wink,
that
I
we've
wink.
come back around to the buildings and the bridges and this kind of stuff, Lori St. Lion says, "I knew we sold the old bridge, but I never seen where you guys put it. That is an amazing feat of vision and construction. A clear case of if you rebuild it or build it, they will come." And he's from England, so
Yeah, it's so right. So right.
So
It's
true.
inspiring to see people go, hey, this is a really cool area here. How do we get people into it? And finding that bridge and constructing it. That's a big feat to take on.
It was amazing. It was amazing even for, I think too, for even England to have the foresight to sell it. You'd think that when we take things down here in America, they're gone. We might recycle stuff, but they had enough foresight to say, hey, we're going to sell this piece of art, this piece of history. And that was pretty cool too.
Do you think they thought they would sell it, or do you think the guy just went, I want to buy that?
Oh
How much
no,
would you
they
sell
had
it for?
there
Or it
was several
for sale.
Yeah, there were several
Okay.
people. It wasn't just the McCulloch. There was about 3 other bids for it, and we don't know what the bids were. They don't even know if Don McCulloch's bid was the highest. They just know they went with him. It might be because he had a good vision for what he wanted to do with it, and because the sellers of the bridge too were, they
want to see the
they
history.
wanted to see it go to a good place too. And I think it's wonderful because it connects America and England again. We like that connection of, there's a lot of history between our two countries, and I think it's wonderful to, a bridge, bridging the countries
bridging us
too.
together.
There's
I
a
love
lot
that.
of
Yeah,
metaphor
that's
to that.
so
I
true.
like their attitude, like when they were writing on comments, like, "Hey, you stole our bridge. Give it back."
I want that back.
Did you
please.
see those comments? Those
so
were
funny.
funny.
Cracking me up.
Those made me laugh.
It's kind of humorous when you think something that's designed to go over the top of water gets floated across the water to,
Yeah, to be the thing
ironic,
that
isn't it?
brings
it
us over
would have been a
water.
bummer if one of those ships sunk with part of the pieces.
Whoa,
It'd been
wouldn't
like,
have. Well, bridges aren't known to
done.
float.
I mean,
We'd be putting up half a bridge.
be like, yeah, by the way, we're missing this big chunk of the bridge. It
You get
fell
to
in the
drive
ocean
out
somewhere
and turn
over there.
around and come back.
The bridge to nowhere.
It'll be $1 million venture to go get the rest of those pieces. Why? Well, it's in the middle of the ocean. May have sunk.
Now, Dave W., he says, glad you're enjoying the London Bridge. We have 33 more. That,
Oh,
so if
on the
we're in
Thames.
need of any more and the price is right, we just put,
It's great.
bridges from England all over
Hey,
America.
I've got
all
a
over the
bridge
place.
for sale for you, right?
Yeah.
The question is, do we want all their old bridges?
It's so funny because another thing that we've tried to
The
adopt
history
from
is
England
really
that
cool.
really hasn't worked out has been the roundabouts.
That's more worth it.
And they've tried to
crazy.
be put in roundabouts, and we get in accidents in roundabouts. They're supposed to be so safe, but we don't know how to use them. So
They're safe in England.
They're safe in England where people know how to use them, but here we're like, oh my gosh, it keeps going. Where's the stop? How do we go? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's like we got to put them here because they're such a good idea. And
Yeah,
it's
they're a
like,
great idea, but Americans are like, excuse me, we like our stop signs.
Though he's come from the same place who has a lot of manuals instead of automatics. We have a lot of automatics, apparently, automatic cars.
But what does that have to
In
do with stopping or not
America,
stopping? Oh,
apparently.
because you don't want to stop in an automatic,
Well, I'm
so you
thinking
prefer
Americans
a roundabout? Is
just
that the
don't
idea?
want to think about how they're driving. They just want to drive. They want to just get somewhere. They don't want to worry about all of this. So we like it very automatic.
Well, there's a chunk of people
Well,
that
Lights are
die hard.
automatic.
Here's the problem with a manual car that I discovered at a young age.
Oh, yes.
That
It's that
It-
whole stick shift thing.
yes, when you have to use a couple hands to drive. How do you eat and drive?
Exactly.
That's the problem
real
right there.
questions.
Put
Exactly.
your makeup on.
That's the reason
No,
those
yeah,
Americans...
I have
I've
never
never-
put
I have
makeup
never
on.
done
Right?
that.
We Americans
Never.
like to eat. So that's why we don't have manuals.
Exactly.
How
You
can you
can't be
text
shifting
and,
and eating at the same time. It just
Eating a
doesn't work.
burrito.
We're
while
just
you're
not that-
driving.
You're just not that talented.
Also, it's illegal now, so we wouldn't recommend it. But
No,
back then,
don't. Back
Well,
then when they're
Charles
building the
Brown,
roads.
Charles L. Brown says, "I thought the London Bridge was falling up, not down, or falling down, not up." Or how that is.
there you go.
So it's
That's how
falling-
they did it. They just
We
turned the world upside down and tossed it down, and poof, it was a
It's
bridge.
amazing.
That would be interesting to build a bridge that floats, but not in the way you're thinking. It floats above the water and it's held up with helium balloons.
And then you got some brat kids that are down there tossing up rocks to pop the balloons. I don't know.
The bridge starts to sink. Quick, we need more helium.
Well, I think that is going to wrap us
It
up.
breaks away, takes a car with it. Uh-oh. Those guys are going to be in trouble.
Well, I think that'll probably wrap it up for us this week. Mom, did you have one more thing that you wanted to add over there, or should we
Yes,
wrap her up?
here's the comment that Dad was referring to.
Okay.
It's James, and he says, "LOL." He says, "I didn't even know America stole my bridge."
And then he says, joking, with a little funny face, but laughing face.
Great. That's great. You gotta love it. Well, we really
we bought it.
we didn't steal it. We didn't. You got paid for it. We really appreciate you hanging out with us. If this is the first time that you are hanging out with us, you don't know us from Adam. We post videos on YouTube. We have 3 videos a week that we do. Our big show is our Friday night show. It's a variety ordeal where we just share what we've done that week. Of course, this week was the London Bridge escapade. We'll jaunt through the London Bridge, learning about all that kind of stuff. We were able to share that. But we do lots of building mostly. It's mostly building, but we have been doing the adventures too. But and then on Mondays, of course, is our podcast. And then on Wednesdays is our recaps. And those are full subjects taken from, that can be short or long, that are taken from the Friday night videos. So if you only got a few minutes with us, or maybe you'd like to see something from start to finish, I know that we get requests for having the aquaponics as one solid video or whatever, which we will be doing. Those will come out on Wednesdays. So we've got something for at any point of your week, hanging out with us on Mondays, maybe you're doing the laundry, doing the dishes, whatever, the quick videos on Wednesday, and then the hanging out with us, having a show, and relaxing with us on Friday night. So
Yeah, and this Friday's video will be, we'll have a little bit of the door. We should have some door art done by Friday. Garen and Ellie will probably have more aquaponics unless they get sidetracked, because I seen Garen might have got sidetracked a little bit here.
Yeah,
and
he did.
might be sharing something
got a
here.
little project.
And of course we have a little more goat news that we'll be sharing too.
yeah, we'll be sharing with you on that too. So
Pretty
give you a
exciting.
little sneak peek of the weekly week for that. So anyway. Oh, did you have something to say there, Dan? You look like you were going.
No, I just leaned up to the mic to make it look like I was going to.
Well, it worked. Good job. He's got his mouth open. Ready to go. Well, we really appreciate you hanging out with us. And also, too, before we go, I also would like to mention, too, that this is on Spotify. If you like to start listening to these on Spotify, and also iTunes podcasts. So pretty much anywhere there's podcasts, this also does play. So anyway, thank you so much for hanging out with us. And we will see you again back here again on Wednesday for our recap. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.